Well, we're also joined now by Ali Akil. He joins us from Auckland. He's a leader of the Muslim community in that area. Ali, thanks so much. I know that this is a very difficult time for New Zealanders, particularly the Muslim community. I also know that you moved to New Zealand from Syria more than 10 years ago. And one of the victims of this heinous attack is a Syrian refugee who came to New Zealand just a few months ago. It's somewhat ironic that people came to this country for a safe haven, yet have now been caught up in the very terror they tried to escape.
Absolutely. Just a correction, I've been in New Zealand for more than approximately 19 years. But yes, this horrific, atrocious terror attack has left the whole society in New Zealand in a very deep shock. People in New Zealand can't still believe that this has happened here. And of course, it's a real tragic that people who have managed to survive real violent conditions like those in Syria and made it to what they thought was a safe haven have now been killed here.
The Muslim community in New Zealand is very small. Government statistics say only about 1% of the population is Muslim. The population itself is only 5 million people. Do people feel safe right now?
Not at all, to be honest. If you asked me that question before yesterday, I would have said absolutely, but not today. Maybe before yesterday, if I said not at all, absolutely, maybe that answer would have varied from one person to another. For me, I always felt safe. Having said so, I've spoken with people out there who've got retail shops and what have you, and they tell me that over the past couple of years, racism and hatred and bigotry has been on the rise. And this is not an isolated thing to New Zealand. In fact, New Zealand, when it comes to the regards of racism and bigotry, it's much better in comparison to most of the Western world. But unfortunately, there is a rise of Islamophobia, racism, xenophobia, bigotry across the globe, especially since Trump has come to power. And therefore, that trend is unfortunately arriving to New Zealand. Although the killer, who's the terrorist who's terrorized the New Zealand society this time, is actually Australian and is actually, if you read his manifesto, he's actually his ideas are not really to do with New Zealand at all. But nonetheless, he did choose New Zealand to do his action in it, and particularly Christchurch. And there are many questions to ask. Why Christchurch? Why New Zealand? And where is the intelligence and the response of the police? I mean, you did ask the other person, your journalist down in Christchurch, about the response of the government. And yes, people are at the moment not realizing, I mean, what's happening. They're still in total shock to think about all these things. But in fact, many people have already raised that, you know, how could this even happen? Where is the intelligence? Why is he not on the watch list? And then since he started his crime and his terror act, why did it take about 10 minutes or so for the police to arrive? All these are questions that we still need answers for, and that will take time. We will be obviously expecting answers from the authorities here for these questions, but we also understand that it's not the right time now to get those answers while the government and the authorities are trying to help and support the associates of the victims.
There are still so many questions that need to be answered about this attack. But Ali, very quickly, we are running out of time, but there are 49 people dead, a significant figure and possibly overwhelming for the Christchurch Muslim community, especially those obviously wanting to bury their loved ones according to Muslim burial rites. Are Muslims from other parts of New Zealand able to help with this? Are they coming together?
Absolutely. I know many people who've flown all the way from Auckland here, where I stay, to Christchurch today just to help there. And as you said, talking about the process of burying the bodies of the dead according to the Muslim faith, well, actually, that's another tragedy. The fact that up until today, up until now, the bodies are still where they were shot. Some of them are out on the streets, and that is adding suffering to the associates of the victims that is not needed. Obviously, the authorities think that they have their own reasons for not allowing that to happen, but yes, that is certainly adding more suffering to the associates of the victims.
A truly difficult time for everyone involved in this. Ali Akil, live to us there from Auckland. Thanks so much for your time.